Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I'm Robb Geiger, your trustee worship associate today. Whether this is your spiritual home or you are newly discovering this community, we're grateful to share this time together. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth and love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention, and to dedicate ourselves more fully to living our shared values. People of all ages are welcome and an important part of our faith community. We are blessed to have the children in the sanctuary for the first half of every service, and the entire service is for all ages about once a month. The nest in the front is our designated area for families with young children, where we have quiet fidget toys and activities and a kid-friendly order of service. Nursery care is available in room 11 every Sunday. As part of being a welcoming and inclusive community, we have some information posted on the screen that will help orient you to UCE and our service. And now a couple of announcements. What do you envision for the future of UCE on accessibility and connection? The Board of Trustees invites you into conversation. They are hosting 4 events, 2 in person and 2 on Zoom. Look for details in the newsletter and register in Realm. And we have an announcement about our upcoming rummage sale by co-leads Jillian Lawrence and Jenny Walsh.
Hey Jillian, do you want to taco about the rummage sale?
I can't bear to wait to hear more.
You'd think we'd have to travel to Timbuktu to find these great treasures, but they'll be right here at UCE, May 2nd and 3rd.
And you know, the rummage sale is not just good for building prop-based puns. It also builds connections within UCE and in the broader community, is good for the environment, and supports UCE's mission.
And to accomplish all of these things, it takes a village. So stop by our rummage sale table at the back of the sanctuary today and each Sunday through April to learn more about how you can support the sale.
That's right. There are a few easy things you can do now to help make sure this year's sale is a success. Gather your donations using the donation tip sheet, help publicize the sale using our handy flyers, and sign up to volunteer during the sale week using our new online sign-up. All of these resources will be at the back of the sanctuary after the service. See you there.
And now let us settle into our shared time of reflection, celebration, and inspiration. As we begin our worship service, those joining us online are invited to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
across the nation, and there is wailing the whole world round. And I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. Dishonors must go before us, so lift me up to may the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. Sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange.
The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. The land where we sit was transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, sold to white settlers, and then after the defeat of a pan-Indian movement to keep white settlers out of the Great Lakes region, the Potawatomi community had no choice but to sell before being forcefully removed west of the Mississippi. We also remember the ancestors of contemporary African Americans, the individuals, families, and networks of Black people who built up our country's culture and economy, which was a role forced on them originally by enslavement. We are indebted to their labor and unwilling sacrifice, and acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations still felt and witnessed today. These acknowledgments are one small effort toward building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to incorporate these acknowledgments into our lives and turn our thoughts into actions. Please join in our words of shared community. We name these realities with all the ancestors, respect for our descendants, and gratitude for the land we use as sacred space. Lena Hilco brought the flowers in honor of her father's 89th birthday this very day and in remembrance of him. As she lights our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying the words on the screen by Chad A. Snyder. We truly know far less than we think we do, but let us know this much. we are not alone in our joy, in our loss, in our quiet, daily, blessedly ordinary moments. We are not alone. A small truth, maybe, in a vast and rapid world, but let us hold that truth and trust it as we hold and trust the joys, the sorrows, and moments shared in this space we make holy. And please rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And before we sing our opening hymn, I invite those joining us online to greet each other in the chat, and those gathered in the sanctuary to turn to one another briefly to say good morning, trying to greet someone who's new to you.
Please stay after this service to continue your conversations. And if you're new to UCE, please stop by the welcome table at the back with the red tablecloth to get your questions and curiosities answered about our community. Let's keep building and creating new relationships and kinship among us. Our first hymn is I Know This Rose Will Open, and we're going to do it as a round, and Vickie's going to guide us.
Oh, yes, hello, good morning. So it's a 4-part round, as most of you know. So we need to divide you into 4 parts. So you'll be part 1, and you will be helped by Kylie. She'll be your leader. You are part 2. You will be led by Gray, who will be your leader. Okay. You will be part 3. You will be led by Reverend Eileen, who is your leader. All right. And part 4, you will be led by Robb. Yes. And I'll just be here pretending I'm helping out. We're going to sing it once all together, and then we'll do it as a 2-part round. When your part ends, you just stop singing and enjoy everybody else. I Know This Rose Will Open.
You all sound so beautiful this morning. Today's Today's Time for All Ages is from a story called Lost in the Desert from our lovely Soul Matters materials, attributed by Janae Tahir. And it goes like this. Once, a man got lost in the desert. The water in his canteen had run out 2 days ago, and he was on his last legs. He knew that if he didn't get some water soon, he would surely die. The man saw a small hut ahead of him. He thought it must be a mirage or maybe a hallucination, but having no other option, he moved toward it. And as he got closer, he realized it was real. So he dragged his tired body to the door with the last of his strength. The hut was not occupied and seemed like it had been abandoned for quite some time. The man entered it, hoping against hope that he might find water inside. His heart skipped a beat when he saw what was in the hut: a water hand pump. It had a pipe going down through the floor, perhaps tapping a water source deep underground. He began working the hand pump, but no water came out. He kept at it, and still nothing happened. Finally, he gave up from exhaustion and frustration. He threw up his hands in despair. It looked as if all hope was lost. Then the man noticed a bottle in one corner of the hut. It was filled with water and corked up to prevent evaporation. He uncorked the bottle and was about to gulp down the sweet, life-giving water when he noticed a piece of paper attached to it. Handwriting on the paper read, "Use this water to start the pump. Don't forget to fill the bottle when you're done." He had a dilemma. He could follow the instructions and pour the water into the pump, or he could ignore it and just drink the water. What to do? If he let the water go into the pump, what assurance did he have that it would work? What if the pump malfunctioned? What if the pipe had a leak? What if the underground reservoir had long dried up? But what if the instruction was correct? Should he risk it? What would you do? If it turned out to be false, he would be throwing away the last water he would ever see. Hands trembling, he poured the water into the pump. Then he closed his eyes, said a prayer, and started working the pump. He heard a gurgling sound, and then water came gushing out, more than he could possibly use. He luxuriated in the cool and refreshing stream. He was going to live. After drinking his fill and feeling much better, he looked around the hut. He found a pencil and a map of the region. The map showed that he was still far away from civilization, but at least now he knew where he was and which direction to go. He filled his canteen for the journey ahead. He also filled the bottle and put the cork back in. Before leaving the hut, he added his own writing below the instruction. Believe me, it works.
I invite us now to settle into our time of quiet reflection as we take in and hold the joys and sorrows of this community. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like read aloud, you can write it in the book that's found right at the table as you enter the sanctuary. You can send me or Reverend Susan an email, or you can fill out the form found on the homepage of our website. We listen to these offerings with tenderness and respect, and so we try to quiet our bodies and our minds as best as we're able by breathing in together and letting it out. So let's breathe in together. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared today. Margie Rogasner shares a save the date of April 5th that there will be a national protest, and trusts that something will surely be planned for Chicago. So that is a joy. And from Jessica, for my brother Travis. Reverend Susan shares that she returned from her 3-month sabbatical on Tuesday. Yay! She's grateful to the congregation for this time of restoration and rejuvenation, and is looking forward to sharing with you what she experienced during her meditations and about Tibetan Buddhism in Nepal, and during her brief time in the desert, and about Sunni Islam in Morocco. She also shares that her spouse Mickey was laid off in January from their job as a data analyst at a chocolate factory. Kind of sounds like a dream job in some ways. Please send good energy toward their ongoing job search. Janelle Britton is exuberant to be back in church with this wonderful UCE family who have nurtured her back to strength over the last 6 weeks. The last leg of the journey will be much shorter because of the support. She says, "My heart is full with gratitude." Steve and Karen Courtwright are overjoyed to share the news of their new granddaughter, Penelope Josephine, who gracefully joined the world last night, March 13th, or 2 nights ago. She weighed in at 8 pounds, 7 ounces of pure love. Andrea and Brooks looked so peaceful and at ease Friday morning in the hospital and returned home later that day. Sharing this news with you and our UCE family helps us connect with that which is most important in our lives. So happy for you both, for you all. Elaine Siegel shares a joy. Our community is blessed with outstanding medical professionals, state-of-the-art research and practice, and I am grateful for their care. And Liz Kennedy, our beloved sexton, shares the news that she will be starting both chemo and radiation daily for 6 weeks, starting Monday the 24th. Hopefully that will be the end of treatments of all sorts, and she can welcome spring with open arms. She welcomes your positive thoughts and prayers. And Mary Dudek shares her sorrow at this time, remembering that 5 years ago, UCE shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic, just this week. She remembers the more than 3,600 healthcare workers who died in that first year doing what they are called to do. For all those who experienced the layers of trauma firsthand in all the ways the pandemic affected people, we acknowledge that collective pain and honor the countless sacrifices it demanded. We also hold in our hearts that one of our dear members, John LaPlante, died 5 years ago this month. Sharing these concerns is the heart of the practice of beloved community. Together, we know that we expand our celebrations and we lessen the burden of our grief. And we also know that sometimes there are joys and sorrows that are too tender to be spoken aloud, but we hold them in our hearts. And so we invite you to come forward to light a candle at either this table at the front or one of the side tables, whichever is nearest to you, where you may drop a stone in the well of tears. And if you need a candle brought to you, please raise your hand and we will do so. For these joys, we give our thanks. For these sorrows, we give our love. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of enduring love, moving in the world through us, between us, and far beyond us. Be with us in our grief as we reflect on all that has been lost and broken in these past 5 years. Hold us in our grief of all that we've lost and cannot return to, the people that we've loved, the time of connection and learning and trust in our institutions. And let us also remember the things we discovered in that time of disruption, the necessary slowdown, the importance of community, the sacredness of protecting the earth. May we hold on to these lessons as we remain open to new learning and new growth. Teach us, love, to be present to one another, remembering the preciousness of time. Give us strength and wisdom to support one another in our fears and struggles. May we bring ease and courage to all who are in need of it. May the bonds of community ease our burdens and embolden our commitment to co-creating peace and liberation and greater love. Amen. And may it be so. As we sing our response, number 413, Go Now in Peace by Natalie Sleeth, I invite you to feel free to name the holy as you are moved. And our young people, our preschool through 8th grade, are invited to head to their faith formation time with their adult leaders.
As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with the Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry of Illinois, UUPMI, whose mission is equipping UUs in Illinois to transform institutions, partnering with and supporting people harmed by the prison industrial complex. You may text to give, mail in a check, put cash in the collection bowls, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering or some other giving. The ushers will now come forward to pass the collection bowls down the rows. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy. Our offertory piece is by Chopin and was selected by Gay Riseborough, who was the top bidder in the UCE auction for the chance to pick a piece of music for Gregory to play. She chose this piece in honor of her son, Mark Riseborough, who died at age 59 and loved to play Chopin.
Thank you, Gregory, and thank you for your generosity. We have two readings this morning. The first is a poem titled Do It Anyway by Kim Parsons. It was written and read by a friend of Joan Taylor at her memorial. Joan was a member of this congregation and a trusting and adventurous spirit. I've been jumping off bridges my whole life, and it's always the same. The almost glimpsed shadow at the periphery, the tightening at the back of my skull, the rubbery panic in my legs, and that terrible gasp as I toe the edge and look down, the last kiss of concrete before I push off, float for a second, then fall. The drop accelerates into a physics problem of hurtling bodies and inescapable properties where only the descent is real, and the water has always been deep enough for me to straighten my body, knife the entry, reverse to the surface, swim to shore, and begin the long walk to the next bridge.
And a quote by Brian Doyle. All you can do is face the world with quiet grace and hope you make a sliver of difference. Humility does not mean self-abnegation, lassitude, detachment. It's more a calm recognition that you must trust in that which does not make sense, that which is unreasonable, illogical, silly, ridiculous, crazy by the measure of most of our culture. You must trust that you being the best possible you matters somehow. That trying to be an honest and tender parent will echo for centuries through your tribe. That doing your chosen work with creativity and diligence will shiver people far beyond your ken. That being an attentive and generous friend and citizen will prevent a thread or two of the social fabric from unraveling. And you must do all of this with the certain knowledge that you will never get proper credit for it. And in fact, the vast majority of things you do right will go utterly unremarked. This is what I know, that the small is huge, that the tiny is vast.
Be like the bird that
Thank you, choir. Beautiful. Thank you, Tom. I just want to point out, I was asked to maybe make you aware of why looking at the choir, you might feel a little dizzy, nauseous, sick perhaps. They are wearing, the choir decides each time what color they're going to dress in, and somehow my description of my service about chaos, up is down, left is right, made them decide to just dress like chaos might look. So good job. Good job. It is often said that trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and a lifetime to repair. It is a truth that most ministers try to hold top of mind, including me. I'm very aware of the sacred trust that many of you have placed in me, and I strive to hold that with care. And I find it helpful to remember that earning someone's trust doesn't require me to be infallible. In fact, I've witnessed how trust can grow when someone shares hard feedback with me, lets me know that I've let them down or caused them hurt. I know that when someone does so with care, it takes great courage, and it usually makes me trust them more. Trust is a practice that can only be done in relationship. We practice trust in this community all the time through our covenants, through making mistakes and trying to repair them, by asking hard questions and doing the work of healing the world together. I am finding it disorienting to live in a world where what is wrong is right, what is fiction is presented as facts, and where truth is relative. I'm struggling to figure out what to do and who to trust, and I imagine many of you are feeling the same. Fear and polarization are eroding the many systems of trust we rely on in our everyday lives. Virtually every aspect of our lives is dependent on mutual agreements that we make with one another that we don't even think about. From the rules of the road to the exchange of money to healthcare and food services, we put our trust in others we don't even know. And we practice trust in our families, among our friends, and in our faith community. Every Sunday, we make a covenant, an agreement built on trust to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We make this agreement so that we might help make the world more whole. Though our lives are dependent on our faith in one another, trust is being intentionally eroded in this time steeped in misinformation, and we need to think critically about how to counteract that erosion. I found some helpful guidance in a book called The Road to Wisdom on Truth, Science, Faith, and Trust by Francis S. Collins, who was the director of the National Institutes of Health under 3 presidents, including the last 3, and the director of the International Human Genome Project. He was also an atheist until the age of 27 when he had a spiritual awakening and became an evangelical Christian. Though many of his peers don't understand how he holds these sources of truth together, faith and science, he finds them completely compatible. He understands that religion and science are both ways of making sense of the world, of finding meaning in our lives, though they address different kinds of truth. There are necessary truths that are indisputable, like 2 + 2 is 4. And there are firmly established facts, like the earth is round. And there are uncertainties which require more investigation, like whether there is life on other planets. And there are opinions which are true for the individual, but not for everyone, like dogs are better than cats, or chocolate ice cream is better than strawberry. These may be true for me, but I certainly wouldn't assume they're true for everyone. As Unitarian Universalists, we uphold an individual's right to their truths, their opinions and ideas about the unanswerable questions in life, like what happens after we die? Why are we here? Why is there something and not nothing? And who or what made that something? We promote and defend the right for each of us to explore these questions and articulate our own truths. And we enjoy talking about these ideas, including our thoughts about pets and ice cream. But what's been blurred in our broader society are the distinctions between opinions and facts. There is relativity about established facts and necessary truths, which is destabilizing and disorienting. Many of us can remember the way the COVID-19 pandemic became a politicized weapon and a source of mistrust in science, in government, and healthcare. And things seem to have only gotten worse since then. Journalism has been villainized, education has been demonized as a tool of the elite, brainwashing people into wokeness, and faith has been politicized. In such a climate, where can we turn for reliable information? In whom can we trust? And how are we being trustworthy? Francis Collins suggests 4 things to look for when we're considering these. He names integrity, competence, humility, and aligned values. Integrity means our words and actions are congruent. We walk our talk and show up for each other. Demonstrating integrity means we speak up for the things that matter most to us. That may mean saying hard things with kindness, leaning into conflict with love rather than running from it, or saying what you think even if no one agrees. It also may mean doing a thankless task like staying after church to help clean the kitchen or organizing the rummage sale. Those are acts of integrity as well. Another factor to consider when thinking about who to trust and how to be trustworthy is competence. None of us is an expert on all things, and we shouldn't try to be, but more and more frequently, it seems people who don't have any idea what they're talking about are offering their opinions on all sorts of things, and far too many folks are buying what they're selling. It's a good idea to ask someone who is offering their expertise on a subject to what their credentials are. If you're trying to determine the best course of action during a global pandemic, for instance, it's probably a good idea to ask an epidemiologist rather than a reality TV star. Or when we want to know more about the spectrum of gender, to understand the experience of living beyond the binary, it's best to trust an expert, the person whose experience you are curious about. For each of us is an expert in our own lives. A third factor when considering who to trust and how to be trustworthy is humility. It's a major red flag, right? When someone is unable to admit that they're wrong or to take responsibility for mistakes. Humility means we know we are imperfect people living in an imperfect world, and we trust others to know this as well and to love us anyway. It means we practice learning and growing together. One of the things we talk about quite a bit in our anti-oppression and anti-racism work is training on microaggressions. Knowing some of the common pitfalls of microaggressions is an important skill to build. And we have to remember that we will never be able to create a comprehensive list of all the things that we shouldn't ever say or do, or make sure that everyone knows all of those things to not say or do. We will never educate or train ourselves into not making mistakes, right? A more realistic and appropriate goal in our work to be anti-oppressive and anti-racist is to keep building genuine relationships of trust with people we know and the people that we are just coming to know. This, of course, takes time. But when we practice trusting one another, we can say, hey, that really hurt when you said that thing. And practicing trust means building our capacity to lower our defensiveness when someone does share something like that, so we can respond with something like, I'm so sorry. Thanks for trusting me enough to let me know that I messed up, and I will work to do better. All of us can look for opportunities to practice that kind of trust building with humility every day. And the final factor in considering who and what to trust is alignment with our values. It is natural for us to have greater trust in those who share our values. And I've been saying a lot lately that the best way for us to resist the regime that is actively trying to dismantle all we hold dear is to live our values more boldly and fully together. But there's a caution here. We are living in a time of such polarization and tribalism that we run the risk of using like-mindedness as the only factor in determining who and what we can trust, becoming insular and myopic. In our Meeting Our Interfaith Neighbors classes, we've been learning about the different ways people of faith answer some of the big questions of life and what values and beliefs guide their practices. We've had some challenging but respectful conversations that have revealed different viewpoints on important issues. But listening and sharing about our different views rather than eroding trust has allowed us to see each other more fully and compassionately, while also being more clear on what our values are. Encountering a diversity of opinions and beliefs is an important practice in our world of greater and greater isolation and factionalism. Building our empathy muscles will be critical as we build our resistance to the rising tides of hate and fear. In the film Conclave, which I watched this weekend, don't worry, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but the main character gives a homily in which he asserts that the greatest enemy of unity, tolerance, and faith is certainty. When we cling to certainty about our beliefs, shutting out the possibility that we could be wrong or that other perspectives could be valid, it leaves no room for trust to build, for relationships of growth and transformation to flourish. As we practice trust in community, determining who to trust and how to be trustworthy, it's important to consider whether we're relying too heavily on the opinions of those that we align with. It's important to consider whose voices and perspectives are not being heard, and it's important to consider integrity, humility, and competence as well. And if you doubt the impact of cultivating trust in one another and protecting the truth, remember that list that I shared with you last week from Robert Reich on how to resist fascism, which includes spreading the truth. As we continue to nurture relationships of trust that will sustain and empower us for the journey ahead, the Board of Trustees is inviting us all to join them to think about some big questions. In what ways do we need to transform as a congregation so that UCE is more accessible in a variety of ways to all who might find a home with us? And how can we foster connections that go beyond our comfort zones within UCE and in the community more broadly? We hope that you will join us for one of 4 conversations coming up in the next 5 weeks, which you can read about in the newsletter. As we engage in challenging and meaningful conversations, let us trust in each other to be able to share hard and honest things with care. Let us remember that trusting each other does not require us to be perfect. We will all make mistakes. We will hurt one another sometimes. Trust means knowing that we can talk through hard things, that each of us is stronger and we are strong enough together to get through those hard things, to better understand the truth together and to travel the path of wisdom with one another. And as we travel, may we reach out to those who would join us, even those who have different beliefs. In this complex and disorienting time, thank you for trusting me and for trusting each other to move through hard times with love and courage. As we do so, may we rebuild the world to be more life-giving, more generative, and more liberating for all of us. Amen, and blessed be.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join in saying the words on the screen by the Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 124.
May we continue practicing trusting one another in beloved community to grow our capacity to recognize truth, to live with integrity, humility, and wisdom. And may the truth of love set us all free. Amen.